then if someone wanted to be annexed into the
Jessica's
city.
referring to the provision for mandatory disannexation, which there are deadlines for objecting to not providing services if there were a mandatory disannexation brought by the residents there, and she's right about that. The city council can elect to disannex voluntarily, whether the service plan has been met or not.
But all that comes from how it was, correct me if I'm wrong, the determination which way we go comes from the documentation that Cynthia locates as far as the initial annexation.
Well, that will certainly have something to do with it. Yeah, we need to look at all that, for sure.
But Nick, that's not, I mean, they're not getting services in terms of what the city's obligated to provide. Do they not have the ability to come forward, which they have done, and make the petition?
You know, the petition for disannexation, if it's rejected by the city council, the residents can sue for disannexation for failure to meet the service plan within the statutory time limits. And that lawsuit to seek this annexation order from the court does have deadlines, and those deadlines have passed. I think that's what she's referring to. But if the council elects to grant the petition for this annexation voluntarily, of course, those deadlines don't really apply.
Everybody signed that petition, right?
All those residents that signed it, and that was including.
I saw the names of all these people.
It brings up to me another interesting point, because we need to look out there and see, and look at our annexation policy and find out if there are other residents in the same boat.
You don't, so your annexation policy is by statute.
Okay. Because if we have
and I think it just changed, didn't it, Mick? Wasn't there additional legislation that will go into effect here soon on annexations? I think there was like 2 bills.
It's already in effect for every annexation going forward since May 24th, unless the city council had already passed a resolution directing the annexation to be initiated. That applies to involuntary annexations by home or city. Individual property owners can still petition for annexation voluntarily without complying with that statute. But yeah, you're right, there was a new statute adopted and signed by the governor that changes annexation law for those cities.
Yeah, but relative to our city charter section 2.05, this annexation, it says the city may by ordinance disannex territory within the city. It doesn't talk about whether it got annexed or whatever. It says it may disannex any territory so detached shall be liable for its prorated share of any debts incurred while as part of the city, and the city shall continue to levy and collect tax on the property until such indebtedness and discharge. This annexation actions are subject only to such procedural rules as may be prescribed by state law. So if someone was originally part of the city, they could say, one out of the city. There's nothing, so that's exactly whether you got annexed in or you've been part of the city, 2.05-C would apply to what they're requesting.
As long as what they're requesting is within the statute of the state. That's all.
I would like to point out.
It's great that you have a charter, but you have to remember your charter cannot supersede state law.
Well, if the state law changed after the charter, we'll let Nick figure all that out.
Yeah.
But this will
I
get the
can handle that. It's just, I'm not sure I answered the question Councilmember Oliva's had earlier. If there's a disannexation of the area, it must include all the properties that were originally annexed. You can't carve it up. Some of the properties stay in and some of them do. So then if certain property owners wanted to be re-annexed or part of the city for whatever reason, they'd have to voluntarily apply to be annexed under the current law.
Okay, well, help us understand all this. Okay, Vic?
Yes.
days.
Okay, any more discussion?
Cool.
Nope. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, Councilman Stevens.
So the next one is, and I know we'll eventually get into this when we have our discussion about the employee manual, but I think one of the things that's important is for employees to be able to plan ahead for vacation, so that they can get, like we all want to do, is cheap tickets, you know, and that's the basis behind the resolution, is to put that policy in place that allows employees to submit their vacation requests up to 6 months in advance for their planned vacation. So I would make the motion that that we approve resolution 2019-06-04 for the state of Alpine to immediately implement a policy that allows city employees to submit their vacation requests up to 6 months in advance for planned vacation.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion?
I have discussion. The 3-week approval is that you should not be requesting vacation any less than 3 weeks before. I don't think that our policy says only at 3 weeks. I think if you're planning a long vacation, like a cruise or out of the country, by all means, you can submit it with the understanding that personnel changes, issues change, and you may be at risk at not being able to take that vacation that far out in advance because of that. But the 3 weeks is not, you can only do it up to 3 weeks. It means no less than 3 weeks in advance. So if I'm taking a vacation, I can't let my supervisor know the day before, oh, by the way, I'm taking the rest of the week off on vacation. Or I'm going to take next week off on vacation when other people have already requested it. So there really isn't, I really don't see the allowance of the 6 months because it is up to the discretion of the department head to approve the vacations as long as they are submitted 3 weeks ahead of the dates that they're requesting.
No, I understand that. This is about putting a policy in place that says up to 6 months or 6 months ahead of time, they can get it in so they get you tickets.
Yeah. So what happens if, say, someone has a cruise planned out 6 months in advance, and then personnel changes occur? Who is going to recoup the costs of that?
I've always told employees, you're welcome to book it now, make sure you get the insurance, because I cannot guarantee you as you get closer to your vacation date, you're going to be allowed to go. Especially if you're a department manager and 4 people quit or the entire office gets the flu. And you're the only one here.
We used to have a year that we put out a vacation 4 weeks, and then you come back and you do a day at a time. So, but we also gotta be aware that we have to schedule these vacations to keep the business going.
And I think, 3 weeks, 3 months ahead of time is reasonable. But 6 months is going out pretty far.
I just believe we have a responsibility with the number of employees that we have in the city. That they don't make much money, and they do all they can to do their planning. And we as managers have a responsibility to do all we can. We put in there, we encourage employees to take regular use of annual vacation time as a benefit you will earn. And I know there have been people who put requests in well in advance of 3 weeks and have been told no, or haven't gotten an answer. And I think we have a responsibility to take care of our employees.
And we should have a vacation schedule posted
That's fine.
at every location. So,
That's great.
no, not,
However we want to add, that's great.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just, to me, yeah. If I plan something out 6 months of cruise,
Yeah.
and, you've already planned out, the kids are fire provided, you may have the insurance, like you said, and then you get your money back, but then the family say, like, wait a minute, what happened? We had all this planned out, we made arrangements and all that, that's what I look at. I do agree that we should have something in advance and not change it. Days in advance, something like that, personal days, yeah, those are subject to change.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
vacations.
but full vacations, no. I'm sorry, I just think that we should have that planned out.
I mean, and if somebody does leave, we should, the manager, whoever's in charge should be able to put somebody else.
Backfill, or, you know, and
That's
that's
how we
why
do it.
cross-trained should be, some of these folks need to be cross-trained to come take up the slack.
I agree.
If I may, I'm not against the resolution. I think it makes sense. But at the same time, I keep in my mind trying to figure out that we are not managers, we're leaders, we're policymakers. And we're establishing a policy that to a point makes sense. But it seems to me like the vacation planning should be between the employee and the division chief, and final approval up to the city manager. I don't see why we need to get involved with something that can be resolved at the respected levels within the city hierarchy. To establish policy for this, that it just doesn't, to me, doesn't jive that way, if I can say that.
Yeah, and that's where I'll disagree with you, because a manager couldn't say, well, I'm gonna cancel your vacation.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've already got it planned, and then what happens? So, I know we should, to me personally, I think we should have it far in advance, full weeks. I can plan the trip and whatever. Yeah, you can get your insurance, your money back if something drastic happens. But I think we should do it in advance. Any more discussion?
So would this resolution change anything that's already there?
It would add to the employee manual
Yeah.
that the words that we have in there would go in the policy. And with that action, the employee handbook, we established the employee handbook as policy, this would be part of that gets added.
I guess my concern is that because it doesn't really specify what type of vacation, so somebody's like, maybe they're doing a staycation, but I'm gonna go ahead and request, this time 6 months in advance without really knowing what the staffing levels are gonna be 6 months in advance. And so, I might have a crew of 5 and I give 3 of them vacation 6 months in advance, and then 2 people quit, then I don't have anybody. And if there's not a clause in there that says that, that your vacation, although it's given, make sure you get insurance, because it can be canceled based on staffing availability and the situation at the time.
I
I
believe that
think you
clause
put
is
that,
already in the employee handbook.
you put that into a big, you put managers in a difficult situation in improving that. There's always a race for people to put their time in when it comes in for the holidays and spring break and graduation and things like that. And managers can sit there and, they can manipulate, okay, well, I'm gonna give you this day and I'm gonna give you this day. Sorry, you're not gonna be able to get a day to the third person. But to do this 6 months in advance, really, again, it lends to setting their expectations up really high, and then things changing on the day-to-day basis that can really hurt them.
Well, I think it's fair to the employees, and the other thing is there, the manager must approve or deny the request within 3 working days of submittal. So I think there's plenty of time for people to go organize and play it out.
Me as a manager, that's something that I would not want to see. I could do 3 months ahead. I think you can still get decent prices 3-4 months ahead, but to go 6 months, I think that's a half a year.
Oh, yeah, it
That's
is.
a half a year that
Yeah.
you're basically building up for 1 employee or 2 employees to have certain days off that, look what happened Memorial Weekend. People had plans for Memorial Weekend at the treatment plant and they had to cancel them and be here.
They just left, they didn't show up, so.
Well, that's not how I was told, but then they weren't the only ones that left.
Yep.
So, I mean, the point is, you know, people have plans, and if they have to be here at work and you cancel it, and then they've been waiting for it 6 months, that's a really long time.
Well, and sometimes 6 months, you need that because they're doing payment plans on a cruise. So some people can't come up with $2,000 in 3 weeks or 3 months and say, you know, they have a budget and they plan out, okay, I'm gonna pay it out 3 to 6 months.
I mean, I did it for 35 and a half years. And
You took a vacation for
No,
that?
no. we had, for a year, we get our vacation calendar.
Yep.
And
And
you
at
plan
the
it
end
for the
of the
whole
year.
year?
Plan it for the year.
And so you planned it for a whole year.
Yeah.
And you could cancel your vacation on a voluntary basis also, okay?
But it's
They
usually
did
set
it.
up by seniority.
It was set up by seniority, and that's, you know, that's what my background was, from seniority. But they could always say, okay, you know, I'll cancel it because needs of the business, which they would do to us, you know, sometimes if we had a dire emergency, then it would be needs of the business, can you cancel your vacation? Wouldn't force you to do it, but they would ask you, would you cancel it because of the needs? So, any more discussion?
So so even if this passes, it's still gonna have the stipulation that if something comes up and you don't have staff to cover your vacation, that you can still be denied your vacation?
I believe that's already in the employee handbook. I personally am not in favor of that because there are too many times where, quote unquote, the business says, I'm sorry, we're gonna cancel it. I understand emergencies, I understand all this, I'm just used to supervisors. If an employee's got a vacation plan, the supervisor jumps in and takes over and takes care of it so the employee can go on vacation. We have most of our employees have families, they don't make a whole lot of money. They know when kids are graduating, trying to coordinate when Easter breaks are, when all the other things are going on. Mind you, giving them the opportunity to go work, that is the right thing. So I think the cancellation, I'm where Mayor is, you know, it's a long day before I, as a leader, am going to cancel anyone's vacation. I may ask, but many times I've jumped in and I do the work. The supervisor just said, you guys go, you earned it. I have flexibility, a lot more than they do.
I'm used to it.
Yes, sir.
Just, again, curious, very curious. But have we had any requests regarding a 6 month in advance vacation?
I have
schedule?
received 2, not for major vacations, but like, hey, I need this day off, and, you know, for whatever reason, not because they were taking extensive vacations, not for cruises, not for traveling overseas. And I've told them honestly, you can put it on the calendar, but I can't guarantee that I'm gonna give it to you. Because I don't know what's gonna happen between now and then. And
So the concept of vacation is when it's more than 1 day. Fair.
if someone
Day
comes
off.
to me and they say, and I've had this, I've had employees that have traveled to Spain and they've traveled to Britain and they've traveled to South America and they've said, I want to plan this trip, I want to get my tickets, and I've told them, I think that's fantastic, you should go, definitely, but I can't take your leave request until this date when it's closer to the time. Be sure you get insurance in case something happens.
The leave day is 3 weeks before. The leave, the
Minimum
time
is 3
for
weeks.
The minimum is 3 weeks, so usually if you're 3 months out, at 3 months now, you can kind of manage it, but 6 months is a lot, there's a lot can happen in 6 months.
Any more discussion?
You know, and it's, you know, let's say, you know, here in Megan and Mar's situation, I step out the door, get hit by a bus, Megan's got a cruise, she's leaving for tomorrow.
We don't have buses.
You don't have cruise ships to leave here either.
I see the bus go right down that street.
School buses.
Yeah, so, I mean,
That's semis.
I mean, there has to be something added to that that says, you know, certain circumstances may require that your vacation be canceled even if you book it that far ahead.
Isn't it already in the employee handbook?
I don't have the handbook in front of me, so I can't
I'm gonna
verify
call for
that.
the question.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign.
You can't abstain.
You can't abstain, you gotta vote.
You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
This is not about abstention.
Okay, I don't want,
You don't want the 6 months?
no, okay, do it again.
Okay, the motion is for employees to post, and correct me, to post their vacations up to 6 months. So they can plan, cruise or whatever the activities they have, okay? And so those in favor of the 6 months posting, raise your right hand. Okay, all those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. So you are done, sir.
right now, yes.
Yeah. Okay. City council members' comments, and we'll start on my left. I think we started with you last time.
Two things. One, that we all mourn the loss of Fitz, and we're there with you. We are so honored that you're here tonight. We know it's not easy, and I apologize for making you cry, but we're here with you. And for those of you here tonight, thanks for coming, and thanks.
Okay. Councilman, it's Bill.
I feel the same way about you're here. I miss Vince having been right there. And I'm glad y'all are here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for everybody for your thoughts.
It's okay. Councilman Olivas.
Betty, Jim, a good man, a good friend, and I'm honored to have served with him in this council.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, our deepest sympathy. Anything we can do to help you, please let us know. Okay. Thank y'all for coming this evening. Y'all have a great evening and hope it rains some more.
But no hail. So, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So I propose that pursuant to Texas Government Code 55-071, consultation with the attorney on matter for which is the duty of the city attorney under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct. Conflict with this chapter requires discussion of the item in closed session. And 55-1.071 is consultation with the attorney regarding potential conflict with the city pursuant to Texas Government Code 55-1.074 to deliberate the opinion of bloody evaluation or resigning duties, discipline, dismissal of the public officer or employee of the city council, move into executive session to discuss in the following order 4 items. One, to deliberate with the city attorney on the employee benefit matters, that'd be item C. Then to review and discuss and sign the performance improvement plan presented to city manager May 21st and updated reflect changes on May 21st. Deliberate with the city attorney regarding actions that the city council should take relative to review of employee personnel matters. And 4, to deliberate and discuss with the city attorney an interpretation of terms of the contract between the city of Alpine and the Family Crisis Center.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? None? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. What time is it?
7:24.
7:24. Okay, we're gonna take a little 10-minute break.
7:56.
7:56.
7:56. 1956.
You and I only do that.
Okay, so now we need a motion to get back into regular session.
I move that we move back into regular session of the city council.
Second.
Any discussion? None? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We're back in regular session. Okay,
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Relative to actions, I propose that I state that we have completed the performance improvement plan for the city manager and that you will present it to the city manager tomorrow.
yes, sir. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I'll bring it tomorrow.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, item number B, I propose that we take no action regarding the review of city employee personnel matters.
Okay,
I'll second.
second it. Any discussion? None, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that the council take no action on employee benefit matters.
I second.
Motion's made and second. Any discussion? None, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, I propose that the city council take no action relative to the contract between the city of Alpine and the Family Crisis Center.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? None, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I propose we adjourn.
Not debatable.